Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the season 1 finale of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. The episode was called The Real Good Guys. And as it starts, Jod inexplicably turns off his lightsaber and just continues to pretend to be a Republic emissary. If you recall, at the end of the last episode, he ignited his lightsaber in front of the kids and their parents as if to begin to menace them, and they cut to black. So anyway, now he's turned it off, and he's continuing his ruse, continuing to pretend to be a Republic emissary and Jedi, ordering the kids to be confined to quarters after saying they'd been troublemakers while he was with them, before going to see the supervisor, taking Fern and her mom along, only to find no one there when they arrive at where he's supposed to be, which is a dusty control center. It turns out that the supervisor is a very large droid whom Jod asks for help getting a ship through, which the droid declines to let him do since he had previously received a communication from the Republic saying that all Jedi were traitors and that he knew that Jod was lying before ordering the droids to apprehend him, which results in Jod taking out the supervisor droid by jamming his lightsaber through its interface, after which he makes Fern's mother make it so that his ship can get through the barrier. But taking the droid out took power out over a large swath of the nearby area, allowing Wim to tell his dad what was really going on since it powered down the droids that were spying on them. Once through the barrier, the massive pirate ship starts firing on the city. Ever the practical, responsible adult, Wim's dad tries to get he and Wim out of the area. But of course, their vehicle isn't powered, at which point Wim insists that they have to do something to save Fern, which his father thinks they could just leave to the safety droids, prompting Wim to remind him that of course they're all powered off, and that they need to do something, at which point Neil and KB show up on speeder bikes, which are all still working, and telling him that they have a plan to fly their ship up past the barrier and call the real good guys for help. But as they're zipping around on the bikes, which Wim's father joined them in doing, they start being chased by the pirates, who are firing on them. They barely make it through the forest without getting zapped and even manage to jump a huge gorge, which left Wim's dad quite exhilarated, after which they make it to the ship, though it's without Neil, whose bike did eventually get hit, causing him to have to stay behind. They then find that the docking clamps are still holding the ship in place and that they need to get the power turned back on in order to get the clamps released, which Wim's dad realizes is going to require him to go with Wim to manually reroute the power back. Meanwhile, Fern tells her mom that they have to do something and acknowledges that while the galaxy is a dangerous place, that everywhere they went, even the worst places, there were good people, people who would help them, and tells her mom that she has to trust her. Jod then announces to the populace that he's taken over and that if they go against him, they'll be killed, as well as that now they work for him. On their way to turn the power back on, Wim and his dad are once again under fire by the pirates, but they make it to the tower where Fern is, and Wim tells Jod that he called the X-Wings and that his scheme is over and that he needs to surrender. Of course, Jod doesn't believe him as he tries to peddle this tale, but while Wim's doing that, his dad manages to get the power back on, allowing KB to take off in the ship with the help of a decapitated M33. When the pirate ship starts firing on them, Neil fires a cannon from the ground at the pirate ship, but doesn't do too much damage before the pirate ship takes out his gun. KB gets the ship past the barrier and calls the owl lady named Kim, I guess was her name, to tell her that they need help, but the pirate ships pursue and fire on her, sending the ship crashing down. Back in the tower, Fern tries to pull a lever that will destroy the barriers so that the X-Wings can get through, but Jod stops her, and then when Wim goes to flip it, Jod holds his father at saber point, whilst telling Wim that he only managed to learn the Force a little bit from the Jedi who found him living in a hole in poverty before she was hunted down and killed, after which Wim lets go of the lever, after which Jod starts flapping his gums about how the people are going to work for him, etc., causing him to be distracted long enough for Wim's dad to attack him and make for the lever. The two men struggle as Wim picks up the lightsaber, which Jod then tries to draw towards himself using the Force, which Wim resists, but because he was struggling not to be pulled towards Jod, Fern grabs a hold of him to help him resist. When Jod has to let go of them to keep Wim's dad from pulling the lever, the kids get knocked back, and Fern urges her mother to help Wim's dad pull the lever to destroy the barrier, which she does after a few seconds of hesitating. The Republic forces then storm in and destroy the massive pirate ship, Wim, Fern, and their respective parents flee the tower as Wim makes a final plea to Jod to flee with them, but he doesn't. They then head for the location of the crash to see about KB, finding Neil already in the building, the roof of which the ship crashed through. They also find KB alive and well, alongside M33 carrying his own head. As the parents and the other kids start to leave the area, Wim stops to turn back and look through the destroyed roof of the building to see the still arriving Republic ships with a look of excited awe on his face. And that's where the episode and the season ended. So I have liked this show all season long. I never thought that it was fantastic, though. Like Andor. Andor was fantastic. I thought this show was, just decent, pretty good, okay, nothing spectacular. The finale, however, blew my mind. I thought the finale was fantastic. And, I was skeptical that they were going to be able to wrap this up in a satisfying way in a single episode, but they did. Jod made his play for control of the planet, basically, and the Mint, and failed because the kids worked together and managed to get the cavalry brought in. And I just thought it was excellent. I thought the kids did an excellent job of acting. I thought the action sequences were fantastic. The visuals were fantastic. It stretches credulity a little bit that the pirates only managed to hit one of the speeder bikes the whole time, that people were zipping around to different places on speeder bikes during the episode, and even then they only managed to knock Neil off of it. He didn't die. So that was a little like, were they drunk? Where did they learn to shoot? But obviously the story has to move along, so they just missed them. But other than that, I thought everything was great. I thought that the story beats were great because this episode really, they've been doing it over the last couple episodes, but this episode really showed how the kids came to trust each other and care for each other, and how they all sort of overcame their own, I guess what you could call foibles, and got the job done. They saved the day, which is different from how they got into the situation they were in, which was stumbling into it without thinking things through and, getting stuck in this wild adventure. But in this, they used their heads and pulled together and worked together and got the job done, with the help of the robot and with the help of Wim's dad. But I just thought that was great to see. It just reminded me of all the great movies and shows featuring kids that go on adventures that I saw, either growing up or in recent years. Super 8, Stranger Things, and, other media like that. The other part of it that I thought was really good was the part that involved the parents, because, these parents grew up under the great work, as it were, and learned to follow rules and learned to just accept things the way they were and to play it safe and just live unassuming lives, except until their kids went missing, and then they kind of took some chances. But in the face of everything Jod was doing, they were still living as if everything would be fine. The system's going to work. It'll be fine. Don't worry about your friend. The security droids will take care of her. That was Wim's dad's attitude. And Fern's mother was like, no, we're not going to blow up the safety grid. I'll get his pirate ship through, but we don't want to blow up the grid because that's what keeps the planet safe. And it's like, what safety are you talking about? You're letting him in. There is no more safety. Your planet is already irrevocably going to be changed for the worse. Why would you not destroy the barrier? But they just clung to, she just clung to that whole thing of being protected and safe and isolated under the barrier, and she didn't want to blow it up. But Fern made her understand that that's what had to be done, which Wim's dad had already figured out. But he needed Fern's mother's help, and she had to be convinced, just like Wim's dad had to be convinced that they needed to help KB. And I thought it was great that, he sort of only came to realize that he needed to help the kids, not when he first decided to chase them, because he wasn't going with them to go with them. He was going with them to get Wim to stop doing what he was doing. He only decided to help them after he had the excitement of running from the pirates and jumping the gorge. And he realized, hey, this is, exhilarating, and it's an adventure, and it's the right thing. And so it was great to watch him experience that and to change and step up to the plate because of it. And the same for Fern's mom. And, I had thought that maybe, okay, in the end, they were going to have Jod kind of turn good and protect the kids from something, because he did seem to genuinely care about them. But I guess the whole thing was an act, and he was only doing what he needed to do to get back to At-Aten the whole time. And in the end, he, still couldn't give it up. He still wouldn't stop his efforts to take over the planet and try to flee the tower. He just stayed there and went down with the ship, as it were, because he couldn't give it up. And so, that was kind of sad, I guess, but, true to what a villain is. And so I just thought it was great. I thought Jude Law was great. I thought the kids were great. I thought the story beats were great. The action was great. And it wrapped up, the season well. And the very ending shot of Wim stopping and turning and looking up at the ships arriving and the Republic saving the day and having that look on his face like, yeah. And you could tell that he was thinking, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be a hero. I want to be like them. And I just thought that was fantastic. Just a fantastic way to end the season. And I hope they get a second season. I would love to see a second season of this show. I thought it ended very well, and that the rest of the series leading up to that point was pretty decent. So I'm happy with it, and I just really enjoyed the finale a great deal. But that's really all I can say without repeating myself, so I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, may the force be with you.